Hello, everyone. How are we doing tonight? Happy Saturday. I think it's Saturday. I'm not sure. Who knows? I have lost track of all days because I have just been playing so much fucking Silk Song. How's everyone doing tonight? Hope everyone is doing well. Okay, it is Saturday. That's what I thought. I thought it was Saturday. Oh no, I'm out of LaCroix. I thought I had more. We got our LaCroix for tonight. We probably won't start for another like 15 minutes or so. Just letting people get in here. So for those who don't know what we are doing tonight, I had a... Hey, don't judge me. Anyway, for those who don't know, I had a panel that I did in April at C2E2, and I really wanted to kind of like involve people who watch me in the panel as well, because, you know, not everyone was able to make it to Chicago. And so I figured, you know, might as well do the panel on a live stream, especially because I think I might take this panel to other places as well. For now, it's probably just going to stay in the Midwest, but I would love to do this panel again for like ASIN, if I can remember to sign up in time, and maybe other places too. Seven Seeds manga on top. On top of what? My list? Would love to see a panel in Portland. Hopefully, like someday I can get out to other places. So one thing I was gonna say, if you guys want me as like a guest at a con, I think you can like email the con people and be like, hey, I'm requesting this guest. So like if you guys want me to guest somewhere, so I can do a panel of some sort, maybe that could be the way to do it. But right now, like logistically, or not logistically, financially, it doesn't make too much sense for me to like do panels outside of where I live. Really hope you come back to C2E2 in the future. Wasn't able to go this year, but I have gone before. I would love to do it again if C2E2 would have me. I was very surprised with like how well received it was, and mostly because of the fact that it was a comics convention, you know, and not like a manga anime convention. So like having a huge turnout and like getting a pretty big panel room and all that, I was very surprised at the amount of courtesy I was shown. On top of my favorites. Okay, that's what I thought. I was like, on my favorites? On top of where? Like, I thought maybe you saw it in the background or something. Hello, Walter. How's it going? So yeah, that is what we're going to be doing tonight. I'm just going to be going through the panel as it was when I did it at C2E2. I do think I'm probably going to mess around with it a little bit, just with, you know, more information that I've gotten since doing the panel, and, you know, other stuff too. Like maybe I didn't like certain parts or whatever. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I did my Seven Seeds video about the anime Man, like 4 years ago now? That was like one of my first videos. That's crazy. Is this a Shoujo Society meeting? You know what? It is now. The Shoujo Society is in session. For those who are just joining, if you don't know what we're doing today, I am going through the panel that I did at C2E2 back in April. We'll probably start in maybe 5 more minutes. We'll start in 5 more minutes. I just want to like let people trickle in and kind of know what's going on before I start. Just like jump right into it. Yes, this was the first panel I have ever done. This is the first public speaking event I ever did. Just like in general, I have been a piss poor public speaker for like most of my life. If I had to do some sort of like form of public anything, I would get so nervous that my hands would shake and it would make my voice shake. And everyone would ask why it sounds like I'm crying. Luckily, that wasn't a problem. And it was probably because I took some of my anxiety meds beforehand. I hear a lot about MomoCon. I had never really heard of that convention before, but I keep, like, a lot of my friends have gone to it and whatnot. Is it pretty big? Is it a pretty big convention? Like maybe like the biggest one in Atlanta or something? Because I know, like, I think the biggest convention in Chicago is like ASIN. Yeah, I mean, like, going from doing a presentation for a class to doing a panel in front of, I think it was like 100 people was the capacity, 120, something like that. Definitely just kind of like a crazy jump that I did, but I'm glad I did it. I do think I would like to do a panel at one of the big, like the big anime conventions. So either Anime NYC or Anime Expo. Maybe like not anytime soon. Maybe next year. Who knows? I don't know. We'll see what I set like a goal for myself for, because this year my goal was to do a panel. And it didn't really matter to me where. Yeah, I've heard Anime Expo is pretty wild, just like population-wise. I go every year, even if it's just for a few hours. I mean, even Anime NYC was pretty crazy for me. I had never really been to like a really big convention before. I think C2E2 is probably like one of the biggest conventions I had been to. But even then, I don't think it's like crowded enough compared to Anime NYC. And I don't know if maybe that's just because C2E2 has like better like traffic control, walkway control than Anime NYC did. They did better with crowd control at AX this year. I was at Anime NYC. It's big. It's big, but not crowded. There are places at Anime NYC that I felt were weirdly empty. I do agree with that. I feel like some of the places in Anime NYC, like they didn't advertise that things were in that area enough. That's kind of what it felt like. MomoCon definitely specializes more with anime and manga. Basically only been to small comic and anime conventions in Atlanta, Canada, and Crunchyroll Expo once a year. Yeah, I've only done, well, no, I guess I haven't only done Chicago cons. I almost lied. For the most part, I have only done. All right. I will answer this question and then we're going to start. One of my favorite things at Anime NYC was probably going to the Crunchyroll premieres. I mean, like, outside of the social aspect, because just like meeting a bunch of friends that I'd never met before, but had like been friends with for a really long time, like that was great to just get to meet them and hang out with them. But of the like things going on at Anime NYC, I just think the getting to see Hanakimi premiere, that was like my highlight. All right, so we are going to go ahead and jump into the panel. Let's go ahead and do like a little countdown thing for it. And I will see you guys in like 30 seconds. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming today. We're going to go ahead and just get right into it. It's a little harder to, transition straight into doing a panel when you're on a live stream. So this doesn't work as well. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Comics made for women. A mythological concept here in the States where anything nerdy is seen as a club for rejected boys. But over in Japan, there's been a rich history going over 6 decades now of creating comics specifically by and for women called shoujo manga. But you guys probably already knew that. The only problem is that in this same amount of time, people have dismissed the medium just like anything else, targeted mostly to girls, or hand-waved off as just being about hot boys and romance. I'm here to tell you, though, there's more to shoujo than meets the eye. More than what the average anime or manga fan might expect. Shoujo is actually an incredibly innovative demographic that has helped shape the landscape of manga, all while cultivating a space for women and non-binary creatives to express themselves. So, just what is shoujo? Why is it so looked down on in the anime and the manga spaces? And why is it so special? All right, here's the little like introduction portion. You guys probably already know me because you're on my live stream, but I'll go ahead and just do my little introduction anyway. Hello, and thank you everyone for coming to this live stream. My name is Colleen from the YouTube channel that you're currently on, Colleen's Manga Rex. You may know me from one of my first videos, The Decline of Shoujo Anime, or perhaps you know me as that annoying person on Twitter who leads the shoujo cult. Just a little about me. I've been into anime and manga since I was a kid when I first found card captors on Kids WB, and have been a disappointment to my parents ever since. I grew up on shoujo manga, Fruits Basket, High School Debut, Vampire Night, and my love continued even to now, where I preach the good word of Chihaya Furu. If you haven't read it, do so when you're done here. You can get started on volume 1 right away, right when I log off of this stream. All right, so before we get started, we're going to play everyone's favorite game. And let's see how this goes over a live stream. We're going to play everyone's favorite game. Is this a shoujo? This is a game where I ask you guys, is this manga a shoujo? The rules are simple. I'm going to show a manga on the screen. Once the manga is shown, I'll ask if the series is a shoujo. And you guys will put in the chat whether you think it is a shoujo or not. So whoever I see in the chat first, I'm going to go ahead and click on them, and they will answer with either true or false. For example, Jujutsu Kaisen is a shoujo, and you would answer false. Jujutsu Kaisen is not a shoujo. The person who answers correctly first gets a big old thumbs up for me. So, without further ado, everyone say it with me now. Let's play Is This a Shoujo? All right, guys. Let's start it off. Your Lie in April is a shoujo? Oh, what? Your Lie in April is a shoujo? We got our first answer. False. Your Lie in April is a shonen manga from the magazine Monthly Shonen. Fun fact, this is the same magazine that Noragami ran in. So that one is also not a shoujo. All right. Guys, Banana Fish is a shoujo? Is Banana Fish a shoujo? There's guns and there's gangs? But is it a shoujo? Oh, we got our first answer. True. Oh, I'm so proud of you guys. It's so true, bestie. Banana Fish is a shoujo manga, and it comes from the magazine Bisatsu Shoujo, or Betsukomi for short. Fun fact, this is the same magazine that Blackbird ran in. Yes, same magazine as Blackbird that everyone knows and loves so much, I'm sure. All right, guys, we have one final question. Skippin' Loafer is a shoujo? Guys, is Skippin' Loafer a shoujo? Oh, wait, hold on. No, I missed the first one. Danya, it was Danya who was first. So right, bestie. False. Skippin' Loafer is a seinen manga from the magazine Monthly Afternoon. Fun fact, this is the same magazine that Vinland Saga runs in. Also the same magazine as like Blue Period and a lot of other seinens that you probably like too. All right. Thank you everyone for playing this incredible, gruesome, is a grueling game. We all fought it out. We all fought it out in the chat there for a little bit. The quiz show has crushed our dreams and ruined our friendships, and not to mention, it may have also just confused you guys further on what shoujo even is. How is Skippin' Loafer a seinen when it's a manga about a high school girl? How is Banana Fish a shoujo when it involves hard drugs and shootouts? The answer lies within the misconception that shoujo is a genre. And more specifically, that shoujo is a fancy Japanese word for romance or something. However, this isn't the case. Shoujo literally translates to the word girl in Japanese. So shoujo manga really just means comics for girls and nothing more. This is a demographic of manga that targets an audience of girls ranging from their preteens to their late 20s. And even, sometimes past that too. We all need things. We all need things when we're older too. Lost my spot. The other demographic names are similar in their naming conventions as well. They aren't shying away from who they are blatantly marketed for. Shonen translates to young boy, josei translates to adult women, and seinen translates to youth, but is manga that is targeted for adult men. Just like in any other Just like in any of the other 4 main demographics of manga, shoujo can span across all types of genres and feature all ages and genders of characters. On top of this, shoujo is not just about straight relationships, and in fact was the spearhead for BL and GL stories. Without shoujo and all the diversity it has to offer, manga would in no way be the same as it is now. It would not be considered literary works that add just as much value to the world as any other type of media. So let's make this clear just once more. Shoujo does not mean romance. Not all romance manga or anime out there is shoujo, and not all shoujo created is romance. Romance is a genre which contains its own set of tropes and content, while shoujo is a demographic that encompasses all kinds of genres. Yes, romance and love is found in many shoujo series. That does not define manga made for girls, and to say so stereotypes the interests of both boys and girls, because boys like romance too. The shonen magazines aren't making Rent-a-Girlfriend for girls, I can tell you that much. With that rant aside, this is a good example though. The way manga is categorized and created depends on the magazine that it runs in. A manga artist will submit works to a publisher of certain manga magazines, and the editors of these magazines decide whether the series would fit in their magazine or not. These manga magazines are specifically targeted to certain groups of manga readers. It is the publisher who decides the demographic. For example, Shonen Jump is targeting the stereotypical teen boy who likes cool characters and fights, while the shoujo magazine Ribbon is targeting preteen girls who want to see themselves or girls they can look up to reflected in their stories. This is the same as all other kinds of media we consume. Japan is just more direct in how it markets manga. If you looked at magazines in America like Cosmopolitan or GQ, these would essentially be josei or seinen magazines because they are very obviously directed to those audiences respectively. This is also the same thing with like rom-coms, for example. You have Pretty Women and 40-Year-Old Virgin. These are 2 very different target audiences for the same kind of genre of movie. Anyone can enjoy them, and no one says that you're barred from seeing them. They're not going to turn you away at the ticket counter if you want to go see Pretty Woman, but you identify as a man. But there is a clear distinction in who the media was primarily made for. The clear distinction between target audiences can also be seen in the manga demographics. Largely, this is due to the history of manga itself and how shoujo manga came to be. While pre-war shoujo mostly consisted of short stories, gag comics, and lyrical illustrations, it also was specifically utilized to teach girls ryosai kenbo, or how to be good wives and wise mothers. Every day, I thank the heavens I was born when fen people could have rights. Well, for now, I guess. Not only this, but shoujo before the 1970s was mostly made by men. These stories focused on mother-daughter relationships, and the demographic itself was used as a stepping stone for these male mangaka to break into shonen after getting enough experience. Shoujo in this era was seen as drivel by literary critics and was hardly given the time of day due to their disinterest. This despite the fact that there were up-and-coming women mangaka trying to change this demographic for the better, all of which began introducing new and exciting genres to shoujo. Fun fact, until the 60s, shoujo had virtually no romance in them, meaning it is doubly untrue that shoujo equates to romance. And also, it never did. It wasn't until the 70s, though, when women began dominating the shoujo scene as more shonen magazines started to go weekly due to the burst in manga's popularity. With more room in shoujo magazines and more freedom, because shoujo was hand-waved aside, the women making shoujo began to create a revolution. This was known as the golden era of shoujo, when literary critics started to see the demographic as a viable market worth paying attention to. This was largely thanks to who the critics dubbed as the Year 24 group, a group of women who were inspired by the female mangaka who came before them to continue to push shoujo in new directions. This is also when genres like BL and GL appeared in shoujo, before gaining their own popularity and kind of becoming their own separate thing by now. It was because of this golden era of shoujo that we have the demographic as it is today, something entirely unique which was built upon by the legendary authors who came before them. Not only did it blossom into its own visual language, but it also allowed manga for girls to feature all kinds of genres, such as psychological dramas, crime thrillers, historical retellings, and sci-fi. This gave way for shoujo magazines to range across an entire spectrum of works for any niche genre fan. Each magazine publisher will kind of have a house style that they are catering to. Magazines like Wings were created to satisfy sci-fi shoujo fans. Hanato Yume was a magazine made for fans of fantasy, adventure, and everything in between. And magazines like Betsuma are for that quintessential high school romance lover. Essentially, shoujo magazine sales are dispersed amongst smaller niches since girls have very particular tastes and preferences for the series that they're reading. So this is only a fraction of the early history of shoujo manga, and if you'd like to learn more about how it developed from the early 1900s through the 70s, you can check out my video on this subject, The History of Shoujo Manga, which goes through like the entirety of that in a lot more detail. Now, at this point, you may still be scratching your head wondering, how could you even tell what's shoujo if not from the genre? If a romance isn't a shoujo, what even defines one anyway? Well, for someone like myself who has read a ton of shoujo over a long period of time, one answer is that the demo has pretty much developed itself into its own art style at this point. Think of shoujo manga art kind of like it's expressionism or Baroque or Rococo. It's got its own set of rules which had morphed over the decades from when the style first began. The shoujo art style was developed from the early days of shoujo, where artisans like Junichi Nakahara popularized the now quintessential glassy large eyes and wispy bodies in his lyrical illustrations. This identifiable style was then extrapolated on by another artist, Makoto Takahashi, who used a unique paneling that added full-body decorative illustrations, which had no relevance to the story going on page. Later down the line is when mangaka in the Year 24 group brought in more atmospheric illustrations to further portray emotions. The flow of panels was no longer boxy and sequential, but rather played with time and space, focusing more on the characters' inner thoughts than their actions going on page. This atmospheric artistic choice is meant to complement the narrative storytelling of shoujo that focuses on emotional depth and the psyche of the characters. Series are often more poetic and flowery in nature, maybe using lots of descriptors to explain a feeling. Narration is directed inward to a character's deepest thoughts, and the screen tones, atmosphere, and emotions all convey this narrative further. When put side by side, you can also see where shoujo and shonen differ artistically. This could be in the thinner line work that you see in shoujo more often, the lack of gradiated shading or screen tones that are found in shonen, or the more flowery atmospheric paneling in contrast to the more sequential boxy formatting. They can be subtle differences, but they are differences nonetheless. And once you read a ton of shoujo, you kind of start to notice it. The writing in shoujo manga was also developed from the early days of shoujo novels. It is often seen as more flowery, poetic, and interior. The innermost thoughts of characters are expressed in ways that often can't be said outwardly. This is a type of writing that helps you empathize more deeply with a character, which is important for shoujo manga, where connecting with the feelings on the page, no matter what they are, is emphasized heavily. An important part of why I mention all of this about shoujo being an art style is because the style is so looked down upon by both fans and critics. Criticism from shoujo manga fans back in the 60s about shoujo really don't sound so different from manga fans nowadays. One manga critic, Yonezawa Yoshihiro, has stated the stylization is the object of scorn for being stateless manga with flowers and stars fluttering about. It's just cringy scenes with meaningless art style. All of this just because it's an art style developed by women and loved by the audience of girls, which focuses more on atmosphere than form. You can tell very obvious differences when an artist is trying to tone down their shoujo art style to appeal directly towards an audience not versed in shoujo, usually meaning they want men to actually read their stuff for once. An interview with legendary shoujo mangaka Yumi Tamura even has her saying that she changed her artwork in Don't Call It Mystery to be more simple so she could hit a broader audience. And that manga is now her best-selling manga to date. And she had a lot of best-selling mangas previously. Despite all that talk, though, shoujo is a demographic. It's not just an art style. The biggest aspect of what defines what a shoujo is still falls on the publishers. Even if a manga doesn't fit the typical shoujo art styles, the mangaka making the series will be conscious of who her readers are. They work closely with magazine editors who also consider their audience and readers who, in shoujo, are predominantly girls and women. Most shoujo magazines have 90 to 95% of their readership as girls due to the fact that boys and men rarely will read girl books. So these magazines have to actively consider the tastes of their female comic fan readership, something you'd be hard-pressed to find in America, and at least from a large-scale company. So that being said, that wasn't always the case in America. There was a time before the reign of Shonen Jump when publishers had just as large a number of shoujo fans as they did shonen fans. At least 2 or 3 shoujo were in the graphic novel book scan charts, and publishers were actively seeking to cater to this audience by giving us beloved best-selling titles during the 2000s. You can thank Tokyopop for this domination. They pushed the manga market to new places, namely bookstore chains and malls. And manga used to be sold in a left to right format called floppies, which were similar to comics. So they were sold in comic stores prior. A place that I don't think I need to tell you can be pretty isolating for young girls. It wasn't until manga started being sold more in the graphic novel format that we have today, and they were sold in bookstore chains, that the new accessibility let girls find comics that were made for them too. It was during the manga boom when we saw so many publishers in America actually care about shoujo readers. Fruits Basket was one of the best-selling series, topping BookScan charts for each new volume release, with Tokyopop even admitting that their company was built on the back of Sailor Moon. Shoujo Beat was created as both a magazine and an imprint after they saw you could capitalize on Tokyopop's marketability of shoujo. Hell, even DC Comics, yeah, the comic publisher of Batman, wanted a little piece of that shoujo pie, and they created their own manga line called CMX, which had so many different underrated shoujo titles. They were a tiny company, but they gave a huge range of smaller known works like Musashi No. 9, which was a spy action shoujo, and Swan, which was a ballet sports series. I don't think either of those could have gotten licensed today. I'll just say that. But ever since the 2010s, shoujo readers no longer seem viable as an audience to publishers. After the market crash, shoujo magazines published here were discontinued, publishers were dropping like flies, and the few remaining have coasted on their safest audience, shonen. Its safeness largely comes from the fact that girls are conditioned to read books for boys from an early age, even if they can't relate to them. Which means shoujo is often caught in the crossfire from both sexism and capitalism. Our two favorite things here on this channel. Leaving shoujo fans with fewer manga licenses, as well as anime adaptations, and bringing us to the declining state of shoujo fandom we have now. Publishers and studios have seen less value in a primarily feminine audience and have continually underserved those who enjoy it. This is why few can even tell you what shoujo is beyond romance, or can hardly give you a recommendation outside of, say, Sailor Moon. Maybe Nana if you're lucky, but that's only nowadays. Because of the gendered nature of shoujo, it faces scrutiny just from its proximity to femininity, whether in its art, its stories, or its target audience. This puts people off whether they realize it or not. Because not all misogyny is conscious. I can perform misogyny sometimes too, because it is an unconscious thing that we are taught from birth, essentially. We all have to actively begin thinking about why we dismiss shoujo or want to get rid of its existence. Why shoujo has less of an audience here, and whether that is because of systematic sexism, which looks down on media for girls in mind. So, what can you do as the people watching? Well, first of all, you can support shoujo manga and anime. You need to be vocal towards companies about what you want, whether that be online or with your wallets. Make sure to buy new shoujo releases to show companies that you want certain manga. If you can't buy them, then always check out your local libraries in person or through your Libby app. You can find so many different manga on there. I've been reading a lot through my Libby app and my local library. And you can always request new shoujo titles from them that are coming out as well. Your librarians will work with you, I can guarantee that. This is unfortunately some of the only ways we can get companies to listen to us, because raw capitalism, as Lily from NMIX has told us, this doesn't always mean they'll listen, however, and more often than not, the goalpost gets moved for what shoujo fans have to do to get their faves licensed. But supporting, staying informed, and updated are some of the best and surefire ways to show that shoujo fans still exist and that we want more of the manga that we love. So, to wrap up all of this, we're going to end on some upcoming or currently out shoujo manga series that you can check out yourself. A lot of these are ones that I just personally love. These are ones that I think are some of the best ones coming out right now. All of these are currently out, I believe, because I made this back in April. So like some of these weren't out at the time, but they are. They are out now. Okay, let's go ahead and start with My Girlfriend's Child. For those who haven't checked this one out yet, this is a truly beautiful slice of life drama romance series that's published by 7 Seas. We have volume 8 up to volume 8 right now. It's about this young girl named Sachi who finds out that she's pregnant and she has a teen pregnancy essentially, and she's got to navigate all the harsh realities of the world and pregnancy and all the different things that really like impact you as a person who is able to give birth. This series is just so lovely, and it's got so much information in it too at the same time. It's just a really amazing series. If you guys haven't checked this one out, I highly recommend it. just read volume 8, and volume 8 blew me away. Like every single volume, I get so choked up from just how beautiful it is. And I'm very like anti having kids. So this is a really amazing manga. Next up, we got Jean Bride. This one is another really incredible manga. I highly recommend you guys check this one out. I don't want to give too much away from this one because like this is a sci-fi series, and with almost every single sci-fi series, I feel like you kind of just have to go. Audio's crackly. I'm sorry. It's a little better. Hopefully that's better. I'll make sure to watch the comments to make sure. Anyway, this one is amazing. It's a sci-fi, so I really recommend you go in not really knowing anything. But the general synopsis is that this is a series about a woman named Is Shoujo who is just fed up with being underestimated because she's a woman. But one day, a former classmate shows up and reminds her of a class event called Jean Bride. Now, you hear something called Jean Bride, and you go, that's sketchy as fuck. So I think you guys will kind of know what you're getting into this one. Oh no. Well, I'm glad that the audio is just kind of not working for the recommendation portion and not the rest of the panel. All right, well, if the audio isn't working while I'm talking, you can at least like screenshot the recommendations on their own, because it's got like their own synopsis and the covers and everything. It could also just be my voice, because like, hold on. Can you tell that the recommendation portion is more of a looser format? Okay, let's just go ahead and speed through. Oh no. Okay, give me 1 second, guys, okay? Let me see if I can do something real quick. All right. Is this any better, guys? Hopefully it is. I'll wait until I get some responses. Seems better. Okay. I'll go ahead and just continue, and I'll make sure to just watch the comments if it's not working. Seems better. Okay, we'll barrel through everything. All right, next up, we got The Failure at God School. This is an incredible, fun, classic shoujo series. Like, if you are looking for that nostalgic shoujo from the 2000s, then you're going to want to check out The Failure at God School. This is a fantasy, like, adventure school life action series that's currently being published by Yen Press. She was the protector of their shrine with divine powers, and after she passes away, Nagi has to kind of take up the mantle and go attend God's school to be able to save her family's shrine. However, the problem is Nagi doesn't have divine powers, or at least none that she knows of. So when she gets to this God school, she's failing like crazy, and thus the name. This one has been so much fun. If you guys haven't checked it out yet, I highly recommend it. This is from the same author as Apothecary Diaries. Just a really, really fun series. If you love Apothecary Diaries, check this one out since it's from the same author. And I don't think the sales are doing super well for Yen Press right now. So hopefully you guys watching the stream can pick this one up and we can get better sales for the Failure at God School. All right, you guys know me. I have to mention my goat. Colette Decides to Die. This is a fantasy romance series currently coming out from Shoujo Beat. It's about this girl named Colette. She is an overworked apothecary who just wants to be done with life. She's worked like hell and she doesn't want to do it anymore. But when she jumps into a well, she ends up in the underworld, and there she meets Hades, who has an illness of his own. And the two of them are so stinking cute together. I love this manga so much. It's got a lot of like corporate themes, kind of. It's not really corporate. It's just about finding passion in the thing that you love when you have just been like overworked so much in that field. It's just a really great series. Definitely check it out. 4 volumes out in English right now. There's 21 in total, but this one is a collected omnibus, so we get 2-in-1s for this one. So it will end by volume 10. All right. Whoa, I almost dropped my mic. Next up, we have another Shoujo Beat title. This one is Amazing, Amazing Women Loving Women. We got a Yuri series. This one is called Pink Candy Kiss. I love this manga. I adore it so much. It's currently on the Viz app if you guys want to check that out. So it's about this girl named Takara who ends up reconnecting with her former middle school crush, Emma. And their feelings kind of resurface as they spend more time together. The only problem is that Emma is married already. This one is just so good. It gives you all those shoujo bubbles in your heart. You just want to fucking punch them all. It's so good. I love Pink Candy Kiss. Please check it out. Volume 3 comes out next month. Amazing series. And then last but not least, we have Don't Call It Mystery. This is the amazing mystery drama series from the GOAT Yumi Tamura. Everyone needs to read this one right now. I don't care what you're doing. Read it. Read Don't Call It Mystery. It's about this guy named Totono. He's just your average college student. He wants to relax on the weekends. He wants to eat his curry, but somehow murders. And in each single one, he has to just talk his way out of it. So that one is it's such a good series. Yumi Tamura is just an amazing author. I cannot sing her praises enough. And Don't Call It Mystery has really just been her embodiment as an author, as a person too. I just think it's a very, very good manga. So buy Don't Call It Mystery for the politically correct afro. All right, guys. We have come to the end. We have come to the Q&A. Go ahead and cue your A's. I'm going to go ahead and put up the sources and socials. If you guys want to scan that QR code, all of my sources are in the Google Doc that will show up for the QR code. I believe, am I covering it? I am covering it. Okay, give me 1 second. There we go. But if you guys have any questions, please go ahead and ask them now. I can take some questions for the next 10 minutes or so. I know a lot of people who are on this stream probably watched a lot of my videos already, so they might not have many questions, but I am open to taking any if you have them. Any question is a good question. No question is a stupid question. All right, from Jamie, what are your top recs on the Viz Manga app? Guy here looking to get into more shoujo. 100% check out Basara. Basara is absolutely incredible. So the same author of Don't Call It Mystery is the author of Basara. I highly recommend checking that one out. And then also on the Viz app, one of my really love Sand Chronicles. That was like a really formative manga for me growing up. And then let me see if I can think of any others real quick. Oh, Magical Girl Dandelion. Go ahead and check out Magical Girl Dandelion, also on the Viz app, and Queen's Quality. And those are my recs for now. If I think of any more, I'll let you know. Is there any other manga publishing companies whose sales aren't going so well? Oh, so for Failure at God School, that's kind of just my hypothesis on it not selling very well. And that is mostly because I talk about it a bit in my next video that I'm working on right now. But essentially, Volume 2 came out in August, and Volume 3 doesn't come out until February. And there's 12 volumes out in Japan right now, but the release schedule has been really, really slow. And when release schedules for companies are slow, that is often not a great thing. It means that they aren't making a ton of money, so they've had to slow down production. So that's just my guess that it's not selling very well. I couldn't say whether or not it actually isn't selling well. So apologies for the confusion on that. I do have a I have an Annie list. Sorry, I was getting confused. My Annie list will be on my beacons. If you go to my Blue Sky, or if you go to my Twitter, I believe it's also on my YouTube, but there should be a link somewhere that has my beacons on it. And my beacons will have all of my socials, my Annie list being one of them. If you can't find my beacons, you can always just type in Colleen's Manga Rex. That's basically my name everywhere. So if I have something on a platform, you could just type in Colleen's Manga Rex and I should be there. And if I'm not there. Was there a question from the live panel that you would really like to share? That's a good question. I'm not sure if there's one that stands out to me. I do remember someone asking, there were a couple questions I got asked, like, what do I think of like the collector's editions or like pristine editions of shoujo manga and my thoughts about that. And I was like, that's an interesting question. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing that we are getting like really nice editions of like classic shoujo manga. I would love to see more of that. However, shoujo manga is already not like the biggest seller. So having these collected editions, and especially if it's the only way that you can get it, I think can limit the accessibility for people. But that is also kind of like what those editions are for. So like, I'm back and forth on it. I think they're really good about the Moto Hagio collected editions that are in hardcover and they look really nice. And the Rose of Versailles ones as well. I think those are definitely worth it, but whether or not like it's good for shoujo, who knows? Um. Oh, why, that was me. Thank you. Colleen, my Shonen Bro wanted Shonen Jump to Shoujo Rec for Dr. Stone. So I have to say, I made a Dr. Stone one on TikTok, and it was absolutely horrible. I think I would have to sit on it for a while. I still don't really know what the direct jump rec would be, but the one I did on TikTok was Colette decides to die in my so I apologize. I'm not really sure what Dr. Stone is about still, and I hate Boichi. I have a one-sided beef with him. Top 3 favorite Yuri. Oh, Sword of Paros, number 1. I love Sword of Paros. I want to say maybe Run Away With Me, Girl. No. Number 2 is Moon on a Rainy Night, or Moon After a Rainy Night. I always get that title confused. Number 3 is either Runaway Girl, Pink Candy Kiss. I don't know. There's a lot of good Yuri. I would have to sit and look at my list. But like Sword of Paros, Moon After a Rainy Night, those are like my top 2, 100%. I love those 2. What other shoujo manga should have an anime by now? Queen's Quality, 100%. Honestly, I'm surprised we never got a King's Beast anime, because that one did really well. I'm surprised that, there's a Betsuma title I'm thinking of, but I can't think of the name. There's a couple Betsuma titles that I'm like, how has this not gotten an anime? And then just of like my own personal list of ones that I would have loved to see get an anime, Bokura no Kiseki, 100% should have gotten an anime. Like, people would love that series. I'm trying to think. Firefly Wedding as well. I saw someone else mention it earlier, and it's on my mind now, I guess. Is the internet age killing print media a problem for manga demographics going forward? I would say yes and no. I think everyone wanting to move to digital and like making everything just a big gunk of like, here's your manga. You know, I think that can be a little hard for serving niche audiences, because I feel like when people think of like the internet and they think of like digital offerings, they think, oh, this is for everyone because anyone could just click on it, you know, just like how anyone can grab a magazine, but apparently no, they can't do that. It's got pink on it. But I do think that digital manga publications have definitely like, and I think this is a hard question to answer because like, I think on one hand, it doesn't really change what shoujo is, and it doesn't exactly change that there are still digital publishers that are specifically targeting the manga that they're publishing to girls. But at the same time, I think a lot of companies are just kind of blending their own lines. It's not even the manga itself, it's the companies being like, oh, well, that's romance. So that's for girls, actually, you know? So it's becoming more about the stereotypes in a way. And that's my own opinion. Like, people don't have to agree with that, but that's how I see it. I will take 2 more questions. Any recs outside of known good ones for people not reading that much shoujo and not romance focused? I always get the same recs: Yona, Banana Fish, Children of the Whales, Magic Knight Rayearth. Well, like I said to someone earlier, Basara I think Basara is always a really good one for that too. Oh goodness, hold on. Let me do a quick turnaround to look at my bookshelf. um, I think another really good one you might want to check out is Ceres. Natsume's Book of Friends. Ooh, From Far Away. I'm going to say go ahead and check out From Far Away. It's like a really, really good 90s isekai manga. It just like, it's so good. Check out From Far Away. I don't want to say too much about it. It's an amazing series. Let me go ahead and answer this question real quick. Will you do any collaboration videos with Basic Boy and other creators who do similar content like yours? I would totally be open to it. I've done a couple collaborations this year for the first time. And, you know, I love Basic Boy. I've met him a couple times now. He's great. I did do a video with him once about, I think it was, I can't remember if it was specifically about student-teacher age gaps or just age gaps in general in media. He did an interview with me and I was in his video. So maybe eventually I can think up a video that we might do together. And I am cooking up a collaboration with a friend of mine. I won't say who just yet, but I'm cooking it up. Whoops, we're in the kitchen. Okay, let's see. Let's go ahead and go with this one from to read/find series that haven't made it out of Japan. So this is a great question because this is like the majority of how I keep up with shoujo manga. So what I do first is I follow basically every single shoujo and josei magazine on Twitter. I know not everyone's going to want to do that. That's just what I do because I also run the Are Hojos Reddit. I'm going to put that in the comments right now. If you guys don't know, I have a Reddit, a subreddit. On my subreddit, I mostly just post the latest covers, volume covers, color pages, all that. So if you want to go to my subreddit, you might be able to find new series that way. But a lot of what I do is follow all the magazines I can on Twitter to just kind of keep up to date with the new chapters. And then the next thing you're going to want to do is go to AniList, and you can always filter on AniList by like release date, and it has it under genre, but shoujo. So if you go to like shoujo 2025, you'll get all of like the new shoujo series that have been coming out this year. Obviously, it's not 100%. Not every single one of them is going to be on there, but it is a good way to like know what the most popular ones are that are coming out right now. And let me see. Trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, if you like check like ebook Japan or Rent a Japan, they have a lot of new releases on there too. If you go to Kinokuniya, they have a lot of new releases that are sitting out. And really that's like the best way is just kind of like following magazines on Twitter or Instagram and just like being up to date with what the publishers are putting out. And then other than that, AniList or my anime list are decent options as well. I try to be as like, hey guys, here's a new series. It looks really good as possible. But I always miss stuff too, obviously. So if I ever miss anything, you can always check out AniList or try to also know like what the magazine a lot of your favorite series comes from are. So like if you notice that your favorite series are like A Sign of Affection, In the Clear Moonlit Dusk, My Little Monster, you're like, oh, I love these 3 series. Go ahead and find out like where they came from. So in that example, all 3 of those series came from Dessert Magazine. So now you know you like a lot of dessert series. You can go follow them on Twitter and you can get updated specifically from the one magazine that you have enjoyed the most of. That is a good way to also kind of like know which magazines are following which trends. So like right now, Dessert Magazine is doing a lot of college romance series, and that's kind of a trend that they have started. And a lot of the manga in Dessert right now are college romances. So that's just like another reason it's a good thing to know magazines, because you can also kind of like see the trends as they're happening too. Let me go ahead and take off the presentation. All right. And that is all. Thank you guys so much for doing this with me. I really appreciate it. I had a lot of fun. If you can't tell, my voice is going hoarse. I don't usually talk for this long, and that's why I hadn't done a panel for a long time as well. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys have a good rest of your weekend. I'm probably going to go play some Silk Song before I get back to editing. And if there is anything else, I think we're going to wrap up. I guess for anyone who's watching the VOD or watching the stream, I'll give you guys a little teaser for what my next video is. We might jump a little bit in the next video. we might do a little bit of a jump rope. Okay. All right. So that's your teaser for the next video. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. We might hop a little bit. All right. Thank you guys so much for coming. I will stop being in a silly, goofy mood, and I will sign off. Thank you, and good night. Play Silk Song or Hollow Knight if you haven't. Bye.